तो आपको 30 मिनट हम देंगे। तो राजीव भाई से हम शुरुआत करते हैं। छिबर साहब, आई वुड लाइक वेरी गुड वेलकम फ्रॉम यू फॉर सर।
Thank you very much. I think what more opportune to actually have such kind of a discussion with all our members who've actually been great communicators and who've seen how communication has actually evolved over the years. मैं जानता हूँ यहाँ पर कई लोगों को उस समय का भी communication याद होगा। अभी सर्वेश जी ने कहा जहाँ प्रेस रिलीज देने जाना पड़ता था। आज के दौर पे प्रेस रिलीज digitally within a fraction of a second reaches to almost like thousands of journalists throughout the country, and we catapulted to almost like a similar number of people globally. So when we talk about communication, I think a lot of us from the generation that we come from have seen the kind of communication that was stitched to the ground, and from there we have actually come to the Wi-Fi. जमीन से हम एक ऐसे लेवल पे आए हैं जहां पर कम्युनिकेशन आज की डेट में दिखता नहीं है बट वायरल बहुत हो रहा है। सो दैट इज समथिंग वेयर द डिजिटल एज हैज रियली पुश्ड अस टू compete with our own and also push our boundaries beyond where we actually acquired a lot of knowledge, and this is where we never became redundant. मैं एक छोटी सी जगह पे कहीं पर बच्चों से बातचीत कर रहा था। कम्युनिकेशन के बच्चे थे, भोपाल में एक जर्नलिज्म का स्कूल था, एंड ऑनेस्टली दे स्टार्टेड टॉकिंग अबाउट द फैक्ट दैट सर अब तो पेपर कोई पढ़ता नहीं। ये भोपाल की बात कर रहा हूँ तो मैं मतलब आई एम नॉट कंपेयरिंग भोपाल एज अ क्लास 2 और क्लास 3 सिटी, इट्स ऑल इक्विवेलेंट टू दिल्ली। वहां पर भी आज के समय पे सब आधुनिकता है, वहां पर भी एवरीथिंग इज लाइक ऑन टॉप ऑफ योर फिंगर्स। तो बट व्हेन आई हर्ड अ बंच ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स सेइंग अखबार तो एक रिडंडेंट चीज हो गई है, आई सेड दैट इज वेयर यू आर नाउ गोइंग टू मेक अ मिस्टेक व्हेन यू टेक योर वैल्यूज बियॉन्ड योर प्रोफेशनल लाइफ। आई थिंक जो समझने की बात यहाँ पर थी और व्हाट रिक्वायर्ड टू बी अंडरस्टूड इज दैट while the medium may have not got into the mainstream of a section of society, and we are only talking about a very skewed section of society, but a lot of people till today still dip their morning teas with newspapers, and that is where the art of storytelling will never die. एक चीज जो over the years I think we would have also, and all of us have done, is to communicate, cultivate and calibrate. We have, हमारी जो तालीम थी वो communication में हुई, so we knew the art of the 5 W's and H. We knew the art of communicating, or we were given the strength of communicating. Then we had to cultivate also, because we were in those eras where there was rapid transition happening. हम लोगों ने सेट पेजर वाला भी टाइम देखा होगा। Everyone wanted to give one liner on a pager, and that paging message meant an SOS and most of the times, but that paging message also was something that went viral. So we cultivated that technology embraceness in ourselves, and today we have to calibrate. When I say calibrate, it's a very fine line between the communication and the communicators community, because what do we need to calibrate? We need to calibrate the right messaging, the right kind of story genre that we want to address, and everyone has an expertise in his or her own field. Bhaskar would talk immensely on infrastructure, on other values. Sir, so institution अपने आप में ही है, he can actually, I would talk on healthcare issues, but imagine every one of us touch people's lives. We touch people's life to an extent that एक शब्द का हेर फेर makes people either go into a zone where they feel, oh yes, this is what has happened, एक शब्द का हेरफेर goes where people feel misery also. We've seen it during COVID, and let me come back to my part where I talk about health communications. It's such a fine line to talk about health communication because ये सिर्फ ना तो आपसे जुड़ा हुआ है, आपके परिजनों से भी जुड़ा हुआ है, चाहे वो आपके बच्चे हैं, चाहे वो आपके माता पिता हैं, चाहे वो आपकी सोसाइटी के आसपास के आपके नेबर्स से जुड़ा हो. And it makes you feel in such a space that okay, this is happening, let me be aware. And that is where we have to maintain that sanctity of giving the right communication, using the right tools, and also the biggest challenge that we now face is the fake news that is being spread around. And Rao Saab mentioned, Babaji mentioned, WhatsApp has become that great university that we are now following. And this university sometimes is not the right platform to also, communicate. Although we're more or less connected over WhatsApp in that sense. But yes, I think as communicators, we need to understand how do we use those tools in a medium where our lives get more and more value. The value add, the Prime Minister from, various podiums today talks about from volumes to values. We may have the volumes, we may have, the bandwidth of the publications, the online, outreach that we have, channels have mushroomed and they become 24/7. And by the time you see the news, you already have that news on your mobile phones. How do you calibrate it? So the 3 C's have now, from my angle, the 3 C's that we possibly learned from our gurus or sir at that time, the C that has changed is calibrate, and that is where we have to be really, really careful because what we come out with, whether it is through press releases, whether it is through our KOL engagements, we do a lot of key opinion leader engagements which happen, and most of these key opinion leaders are doctors. So I'm talking from a purely public health, angle. And if these doctors communicate the right message, if these doctors give out the right verdicts towards a particular disease, it becomes something that people will believe into. The second thing that we all, in fact, have a commonality is the policy making that we do. We all, somewhere or the other, impact in a lot of policy making, and that impacts the civil society at large. Each one of us becomes a part of that civil society. क्या हमारे वक्तव्य से, क्या हमारे प्रेस विज्ञप्ति से, क्या हमारे बेसिक Twitter, Facebook, Tinder handles, whatever we've been doing, can that be something which can actually make an impact to policy making also? It should make an impact because that is where governance becomes good governance. And when we look at governance becoming good governance, we've actually taken the basic C of communications that we actually learned it from. So I think the digital era has both its pros and cons. Everyone has looked into it. We've seen how it's grown and mushroomed. We've seen how it has been used and battered also. So our only thought process and we all are communicators in this room. I think we all have different responsibilities from different sectors that we are, looking into. So we need to really, really look at how our messaging is going to impact, what is there which is going to really make the civil society a more saner society, and how we as communicators can actually take that and leapfrog into the era where communication does not get diminished to a ruckus. So that's my thoughts, initial thoughts. We've got Sir, we've got Bhaskar, everyone to give more reviews into it. But yes, public health is a challenge, and this can only be sustained and kept correct if we have the correct communication.
Thank you so much. और आप कितना भी डिजिटली हो जाए, जैसे मैंने गुलाब आई के सामने रखा और इन्होंने समझ लिया कि 10 मिनट हो गए, तो आप डिजिटली नहीं कर सकते, चाहे कितना भी चैट जीपीटी के एक्सपर्ट बन जाए. This is something और आप सबको एक गुलाब जरूर मिलेगा आज मुझे लगता है। तो आप सब तैयार रहें और अपना ज्ञान दें। मैं गुजारिश करूंगा मेरे मित्र, मेरे भाई भास्कर भाई से कि अपनी बातें कहें आप सबके सामने।
Thank you, Sarvesh, and I think after Dr. Chhibber has spoken, there is not much to speak about. But having said that, I am thankful to Rao sir, Sarvesh bhai, Baba ji, Sharma ji to invite me and to be part of this podium and with the esteemed guest over here. So my understanding is very limited. I used to work with the agency for almost 10 years and then suddenly switched from to a PhD, which is a French PhD called Egis. And I've been one of the lucky guys who switched sites during the COVID time. When people were actually losing job, I was fortunate enough to get a new job. But having said that, as Chhibber sir has said that I have seen in last 3 to 4 years, during the pandemic time, I think it's actually the right time when digital transformation actually happens. And how it happened, like जैसे राजीव सर ने बोला कि I used to start my day with 8-9 print copies of newspaper with a cup of tea. Now suddenly because of the lockdown, the new print newspapers were not available. Now as a professional, as a communicator, I have to be in tune with news. I have to consume news. So easiest way of consuming news was going digital way. So that's how things became more digital. And I think, I would like to say another thing which will be bit different, that during COVID time, a lot of brands were under financial stress and others were very cautious about spending. And that resulted into the marketing spend of a lot of big brands. And I think there was opportunity for corporate communication guys to pick up a lot of load. So if we look back, 5 years back, the role of corporate communication guys used to be very limited. The CSR used to be there and most press relation used to be there and events. Now it's investor relation, it's internal communication, it's employee engagement. Like when I joined, my MD called me up and said, in India we have 3,000 people and only 400 people are in our Gurgaon office. Rest 2,600 people are scattered around in 46 different locations. Now all these location people are very insecure because of multiple things. The insecurity can be job, insecurity can be money, insecurity can be the well-being of their parents, in-laws, insecurity of their children going the digital way of education, which was not that much there. So multiple insecurities were there, and this is the time I think rather than moving out and engaging with the external audience, we should focus more on the internal audience. And we created a committee. We started doing multiple activities, town halls, which obviously digital, then digital yoga. And I remember small anecdotes that one of my employee, I always used to see him in the screen that he's always there, but he's not doing the yoga. So after the yoga session, I asked him that आप हमेशा हैं but आप करते नहीं हैं. कहते सर लॉकडाउन है, घर में हूँ, मैं योगा सेशन सिर्फ देखता हूँ ताकि मैं लोगों के चेहरे देख पाऊँ. So I understood that that is a big thing. Then another guy from Guwahati called me and he said that इस योगा सेशन में मेरे फैमिली मेंबर्स आ सकते हैं. And suddenly I realized a small ad is not only reaching out to the employee, it's actually going to the larger audience, which is their family, right? So internal comms, employee engagement has become very important for corporate communication. And during the pandemic, there are a lot of new things which has also come. Like as peer professionals, I think the two easiest way of communicating is one is press release, second is author article. आप क्लाइंट के पास जाइए या अपने एमडी के पास जाइए ऑथर आर्टिकल लगाइए. और if it's a print newspaper, it will be 800. If it's a magazine, it will be 1600. आप जाके लगा लीजिए. Now the process is same, but when now we are drafting a author article, we always keep in mind that this author article से मेरे को 500 वर्ड का एक ब्लॉग बनाना है, 300 वर्ड का एक लिंक्डइन बनाना है, multiple tweets निकालना है, which I think it's something is called new age content creation. That has completely changed the scenario. Even in the publication sense or the media side, I know I still remember when I was young, I used to go and pitch stories to the journalist, and if my story was compelling enough, if the journalist is convinced with the story, he used to take the story and if I'm very lucky, maybe it will get published in the print newspaper in a week's time. Again, the process is same, but again, if the story is compelling enough and the journalist is ready to take the story, I think the story first comes in the website, then it's been tweeted by the Twitter handle of the media house, then it's been tweeted by the journalist, and by that way, the next day's newspaper, as Rajiv says, it comes, it's a stale news.
Right, that's how the power of journalism or power of communication, and I think when I say communication, I think public affairs guys, public relation guys, advertising guys, as well as journalists, all are communicators. Because when a journalist is also writing, he is actually trying to communicate a story to his audience. So communicators as a whole, I think the entire industry has changed after social and digital. But as Sarvesh Bhai has said that there is always a caveat, and print and traditional media has always it's relevant and it will always be relevant in India because the kind of checks and balances they have. If a story is there, a story karega reporter, it will go to desk, then it will go to sub-editor. So multiple channels are there, which is not there in social and digital. And unfortunately, everyone talks about social and digital, but nobody talks about that 95% of social and digital is paid. So anyone can get anything done without any check and balances. Like if someone gets a story in YouTube and if the story is factually incorrect, आप किसके पास जाएंगे? उसी के पास जाएंगे. But वही चीज़ अगर Times of India और कहीं और पे होता है, you can go to the editor, you can send a correspondence. So multiple ways are there to manage it. But I think exciting times because when I started my career, I used to be fascinated with a social app called Orkut, and my journey has started from Orkut to understanding podcast. It's been quite a journey. Few days back, I have participated in Twitter chat, which is a very new thing. So I think by the time we are having the discussion, maybe there will be another social media platform which will come up. So having said that, exciting times, and again I am very happy to be here. It's a pleasure to listen to Sarvesh ji, and I think someday I will reach where Chhibber Saab is reached. He is available and seen and visible in almost all forums. I sometimes envy him that the kind of knowledge and the kind of network he has. I think that is quite amazing. And I'm also very happy to speak in front of you, especially in front of Dr. Samir Kapoor. Fortunately, unfortunately, I have worked with him in 3 different organizations. Lots of good memories, lot of not so good memories. We'll not talk about the bad ones, but we have worked together in Rajiv. We have worked together in ESPN, and we worked together in Ad Factors. And in both Ad Factors and ESPN, what happened? My MD said that there is a senior position which is there. So if you want to recommend someone. So generally क्या होता है, लोग अपने junior लेते हैं. मैं हमेशा अपने boss को लेता हूँ, so that my life is better. So having said that, thanks Pavitra to be always there to help me out. And I think I've already spoken a lot. Before I can get a red rose, I'll stop it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Bhaskar bhai.